most innovative and exciting wrestlers to see, Ricochet is looking to be leaving WWE. Looking just at his run in the Federation, Ricochet came to NXT in 2018. At this time, we saw awesome matches against Velveteen Dream, Adam Cole, and we saw Ricochet ascend as North American champion in NXT. And in 2019, he won the Dusty Rhodes Classic with Aleister Black. That really feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? In 2019, we saw Ricochet debut on WWE Raw right around the time of WrestleMania too. He was in a tag team with Aleister Black on the main roster. And we saw the two of them tag teaming for quite some time in this time period. Man, it was weird just thinking about it. And it's all under Vince McMahon, so what could we expect? We fast forward through Ricochet's WWE career. He did some pretty cool stuff, capturing the United States Championship and winning the Intercontinental Championship from Sami Zayn. He also teamed with Braun Strowman most recently for a very long time until Braun had to step away for injury. And of course, his biggest accomplishment, the first ever inaugural WWE Speed Champion, ladies and gentlemen. I'm joking, I like Ricochet. Currently in WWE in 2024, nothing significant has happened for Ricochet in terms of storylines, developing his character, and right now, currently he's in a feud kind of with Braun Breaker, Ilya Dragunov on Raw. Nothing really substantial there. And assuming Ricochet is leaving WWE, this storyline that they're currently in really does feel like you could just teleport Ricochet right out of it, and it really wouldn't impact things all that much. I would wonder what they do with the Speed Championship. I mean, do you vacate said title, the glorious Speed title? Do you have a tournament? What will you do? Chances are they just Ricochet loses it in 3 minutes. Wouldn't that be something? Like, I'm gonna pause right here for a second as I think about it. Wouldn't it be something and just not a good thing if Ricochet's like final match, televised match in WWE is on Twitter and it's a 3-minute speed match and he loses his speed title? I don't know, man. It's gonna be wild. Anyways, WWE, and as a fan of Ricochet and watching his career before even coming to WWE and currently, I always felt like he's never quite broken out of his current spot, his current role, the level that he has been at. It's always felt right around the mid-card level. For me as a fan, he's never really captivated me or compelled me that much listening to him on the microphone. And maybe that's one of the things that's held him back in the eyes of WWE. He's a phenomenal wrestler. He's a high flyer. He is innovative. He does incredible things in the ring. But I've never seen him as a world champion in WWE. And recent reports have come out that Ricochet's contract is coming due and that across all the outlets, it looks to be that Ricochet will be a free agent very, very soon. So the question is, where does he go from here? Where would Ricochet fit in? Where would be a good fit for him across the landscape of wrestling? There's a couple of really good things about all of this for him just as a fan. You can't predict what he's gonna do, and for all we know, all the reports are incorrect and he will re-sign with WWE. We simply don't know until it's official. But if he goes and tests the waters elsewhere, what's really cool is that someone like Ricochet has built up his character, has built up his name value for several years on the big stage and doing giant matches at PLEs and WrestleManias. He's done a lot of stuff and he's primed and ready to be on television too. I think as a fan, he could go to New Japan and excel there. He could go to TNA. He could go to AEW. I think it would also depend on just how he's utilized as well. That's going to be a really important thing. But for all of you, and if you enjoy Ricochet's work, curious, where do you think that he should go? What do you think best suits him? Because sometimes with a wrestler, when they leave WWE, for example, you can kind of feel like, oh, they would fit really well in this company or really well over here. I think a lot of people right off the bat really expect him to leave WWE and go and sign with AEW. For me, I would love to just see a rematch between him and Will Ospreay. That would be kind of killer. What if you did Ricochet versus Ospreay at Wembley for like the international title? Be kind of cool, wouldn't it? But let's talk about that for a minute. If Ricochet were to show up in AEW, number one, I think it'd be great for him because I think Tony Khan will just roll up the big truck full of money.
They drove a dump truck full of money up to my house. I'm not made of stone.
And say, sign here, please, because Tony Khan, based on the past, really feels like he just gobbles up every and any free agent that is available, especially ex-WWE talent. I think he would be featured a lot. I think they'd feature him multiple times on multiple programs across, Collision, Dynamite, the pay-per-views. He can put on banger matches, which Tony Khan tells us that's where the best wrestle. I wonder if that's what he would do to Ricochet. If he would sit down and have a meeting, they would talk contracts. And I wonder if Ricochet's like, hey, I'm looking for this. Why should I sign with you? And I'm looking for this much money. I wonder if Tony Khan just sits there and he goes, well, this is where best wrestle. So best wrestle here. You best wrestle. Sign. But I do have a concern with Ricochet potentially signing with AEW. How he would be utilized, how he would be featured, and would Tony get a little bored of the shiny new toy very, very quickly? Would we end up seeing Ricochet, explode in the beginning on AEW TV and Dynamite, put on banger matches and everyone's loving it and Tony Khan's all excited for a hot minute, and then in 3 weeks he's just in the mid-card match on Collision? That's part of my concern. Versus goes to TNA, hey, he could be main eventing TNA programming, go have matches with Dolph Ziggler. But in AEW specifically, he could be international champion like we talked about. He could go and fight for the world title. I can see that happening as well. I think he has a large ceiling when it comes to AEW. But what about TNA? A lot of ex-WWE talent go to TNA. But TNA is in an odd position right now as I think about it, because they do seem and do have a partnership with WWE, with talent going back and forth. Like, we might be 6 months away from Mustafa Ali showing back up on WWE programming, but under TNA. For all we know, Ricochet goes to TNA and then he's going to be on NXT in a year. We don't know. Wouldn't that be silly? That's why I don't think TNA would necessarily be the best option. TNA, on outside looking in, is kind of on rocky ground in my opinion, with how management is left and things are kind of like in limbo. As a fan, to me, I personally could see him in AEW. I think he could be that international champion. I think he can have banger matches and rekindle feuds with the likes of Adam Cole, baby. He can go and fight Aleister Black once again, Malachi Black. He can go fight Samoa Joe. And we mentioned Will Ospreay as a given. And then I start to think about other WWE talents. It feels like now they're starting to get a lot more contracts coming due. And unless they are a massive, massive main event talent like a Becky Lynch, who has not re-signed with WWE, according to reports, who is just taking time off, and I don't see Becky going anywhere else than WWE. But more contracts coming up. And WWE, if they're not interested in taking that talent and wanting to feature them anymore, it seems like they are now taking more of the approach of, we're just going to run out the contracts and not re-sign the talent. I start to wonder how many more contracts are going to come up. How many more WWE superstars are we going to see in maybe in AEW in the next year to 2 years, and vice versa? How many talents from AEW, as an example, are going to start moving over to WWE and NXT? We've seen that with Ethan Page, Sean Spears when his contract was up. Ricky Starks is heavily rumored that his contract is going to be up and maybe he goes to NXT. Ricochet has built up his name value for years from the indies and then going to WWE. Wherever he goes, that organization is going to be lucky to have him. But I'm really curious to know what you think and what happens and where the one and only will land.